So client administration, right? So client administration we are discussing. As part of the client administration, so we have discussed about the, so how to create the client, that we know how to create the client. Using the SCC4, we can create the client, so that we discussed. To create the client, what we required, there is a dependency, the logical system. Then sale or BD54, we can use it to create the logical systems. Then after that, yesterday we discussed about the how to log into the newly created client, a newly created client. So to log into the newly created client, there is a one parameter we have to enable it. So in this case, we discussed about the profiles and parameters we discussed. The profiles and parameters we discussed, right? Profiles and parameters. So we discussed about the profiles and parameters we discussed. So as part of this one, to log into the newly created client, there is a one parameter we have to change it. So login / no underscore automatic underscore SAP star parameter, we have to change it. So yesterday we discussed about the profiles and parameters topic. So we discussed and how to change the parameters, profiles. So all those things. So we discussed, right? So that is what we have done it. So now, so it's clear, right? Everyone, it's clear. To change the profiles or parameter, any system configuration, we have to go to the either the RZ10 or RZ11. We have to go to the here. We have to change the parameter value. To affect this parameter value, we need to restart the system. Definitely, we need to restart the system, right? Static parameters, dynamic parameters, we have to do this restarts, right? So, okay, fine. So that is fine. So now you done the client, you created the client, you log into the, you just check what is the client. Right? So, okay, you have created the any one of the client you created, either the 120, 150, whatever it may be, suppose 400. You created the 400 client, you log in with the 400 client now, right? So just to change the 400 client, right? SAP star with the PASS, right? You logged into the newly created client. Just you created the client, but there are no users, right? There are no users, there is no data, nothing is there. Just you created the client you created, just empty client you created. But you have the data in the other systems. So nothing, no values found, right? You have the data in the other client. Then, so SAP provided the, so one solution to the customers, client copies means, so if you have data in the other client, other system or other client, you can just to copy the data to your newly created client. So without, why? Because in that client you have worked and you have done the all the configuration data, everything you have created, right? But you want same data into this client means, again, if you want to start from scratch, it will take time. Instead of that, you can perform the client copy. There is an option to perform the client copy. Client copy means, so if you have data in the other client, from other client to and new client, from one client to another client, you can perform the client copy. That is called the client copy. So we have the three types of client copies are available here. So one is the local client copy. The second one is called the remote client copy. The third one is called the client export and import. Client export and import. Okay. So here local client copy. Local client copy. So local client copy means, so what is mean by local client copy? So locally copying the data. So normally, let's talk about the local client copy. Okay. So local client copy locally. Suppose before I go discuss about the local client copy, one small example here. So local within the city, you want to transfer, you want to give the, you want to transfer the some data from some Amirpet to Miapur. Okay. Local transfer, right? Local transfer within the city only from Amirpet to, so Amirpet to Miapur to transfer the data within the city. That is called the local client copy. So which means when I talk about the SAP system wise, so within the system like ECD, okay, you have the client, 000 client, 100 client, you have the 200 client, you have the 300 client. Example, okay. So 000, 001, 100 client, suppose like 400 client. Here the clients are there here. So this is the client you newly created. Okay, this client you created very newly. This client you created very newly. There is no data, but you have data in the, so you have data in this, suppose like 100 client, right? You have data in the 100 client here. Then, so you can just copy the data from 100 to here. You can copy it here. So there is a transaction code called the locally you are copying, right? So that is called the SCCL is the transaction code. SCCL, L means local. So local client copy. Using this transaction code, you can perform the client copy from one client to another client. One client to another client. That is called the local client copy. Local client copy, we can use it here. Local client copy, we can use it here. So using the SCCL transaction code, we have to perform it here. So to perform this local client copy, so what are the steps we have to perform it here? The steps. So log into the newly created client. Why? Because from which client you need the data. Suppose Amirpet to Miapur, you want to data. So here Amirpet is the source. The target where you want to send the data. So Miapur. Then you need to log into the Miapur and a newly created client. Then use the SCCL transaction code. Then so select the data by choosing the profile. By choosing the profile here. By choosing the profile here. So let me show you here. Okay. So suppose I'm in the 400 client, right? Just to go to the SCCLS transaction code here. So here source target client is the 400 client, means Miapur. So select the profile. So which data you want to transfer? Which data you want to transfer here? So you want to transfer the all the data, or you want to transfer the only specific data? Why? Because all the data means you can select SAP underscore all profile, you can select it. Now some customers, they don't want to select all the data, they does not required. They want only specific data they want. Then they can use the SAP underscore all, they can use this concept, right? So they don't want to select all the data. Suppose sometimes some people, they don't want to use us, they want only this requirement, so they can select it. So based upon your requirement, based upon your business requirement, you can choose the respective profile, you can choose it. Why? Because so if you want to copy all the data, you can copy it, but I don't have the type of requirement, right? I want only selective approach, which means I want only specific data, which means like either the users with the profiles, roles. I want only the selective data I want to transfer. In that case, you can choose the profile, select the profile, you can choose it. right? Select the source client. What is the client? From which client you need the data? Suppose I want data from 100 client to 100 client to 400 client. Then you can schedule a background job, or you can schedule a immediately. Immediate means in the dialog mode it will execute. So background means in the background job will be executed. Job will be executed from here. So see here, source client 100 is the protected against the data export. So which means some changes are required in the here. So in the 100 client, here data no overwriting. So something like that, some settings we need to change it here. See here. This logical system is using by the other client. So something wrongly given the logical system. See here. So okay. So now I changed the client now. Now I am in the 400 client, right? Just select this button. Now, right? Just schedule as a background job. So now only the data will be copied here. See here, a background job is successfully scheduled. Log is displayed in the SCC3 here. So if you go to the SCC3 transaction code here, right? So you can see here the data is processing. Data is processing, which means so the local client copy source is the 100 client. The target is the 400 client. What is the profile? SAP underscore user profile. So processing. So what are the how many tables? Total 103 tables out of 25 tables already copied. So 26 tables. So like that the data is processing. So we can see the client copy logs we can find out in the SCCL to perform the local client copy. SCC3, so client copy logs we can find out here, right? SCC4 client creation, right? So here you scheduled as a one background job. You scheduled as a one background job here, which means if you see in SM37, there is a one job is scheduled, right? One job is active, right? Which is that this is the one. So client copy 100 to 400 data is transferring, right? Which is active. So, so job is active means definitely there is a one background work process also should be active here, right? One background work process also should be active here, right? So this is active here, right? So that is the one. Then the next one, so you can also see the SCC3 to check the client copy logs here. Here we can find out the logs of the client copies here. So log of the client copy here. What is the log? How it is processing? All the information it is displaying here. So client copy logs it will be displayed here. So out of 103 tables, so 37 tables are copied. So remaining tables yet to copy. So like this, we can perform the client copies. Like this, we can perform the client copies here. This is the way we can perform the client copy. This is called the local client copy. So which means locally performing the client from one client to another client is called the local client copy. Local client copy, right? So same, not only 100 to here, We can also pull the data from any client to any client, any client to any client, any client to any client. You can transfer the data, right? So that's called the local client copy. But so don't perform it in the 100 client. Don't override anything in the 100 client. Why? Because 100 is our main client. So already data is there. So if you are copying from any other client, suppose 400 client to 100 client, means source is the 400, target is the 100 means, so 400 client, there is no data. So if you are copying the data from here to here, here there is no data. So here we have the data. So all the data, whatever there in the 100 client, all the data will be deleted. Then whatever the data is there here, that will be copied. So users will not log in. So that is the reason. Don't touch 100 client as a target, but you can copy from source as a 100, you can copy. But target as a 100, don't overwrite any data, copy any data to the 100 client. You can use the other clients. Okay. We can use the 400 client. Why? Because now we are copying. We can use it here, right? See here. So it's completed. It's completed. How much time? Maybe 4 minutes it's taken, right? It started on the 11:26. It is completed in the 11:30. It's completed. 103 tables completed, right? Maybe you can also check the background job here. You go to the background job, that is also successfully. Okay. So as part of this configuration, what we achieved as part of this configuration, so what we achieved as part of the local client copy, so what we got it. So we copied the data from, so 100 client to 100 client to 300 client. What data? Suppose like example, I just only users data. How many users are there here? So all the users, I got it here. Suppose example, so all the users, we got it here. How many users are there? All the users, we got the data here. Suppose like here we have, so Ambika, Arun, so many users are there here, right? So same data, I'm in the 100 client, we got it. I want similar kind of users in the, so 400 client also, right? 400 client also. Then let's see here in the SE01, go to the here same strategy, just select the star button. See here, same users, we got it here. Same users, we got it here in the 400 client also. Previously, we don't have any users in the 400 client, but now we have similar users are available in the 400 client. Then how we got it? Right, just in 4 minutes, you have the all the 25 users and other data also you got it. So how you got it here? So here we have used the local client copy technique, so that whatever the data is there in the 100 client, same data is copied to the local client data is copied to the 100 to 400 or 400 to 100. That is called the local client copy. So here to perform the local client copy, first log into the newly created client, then execute the transaction code, select the profile. Suppose you want to use the all the data, then we can use the SAP underscore all. Suppose like you want to copy all the data, then you need to choose the all. So which means all means, so lot of data. So which may take 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours will take. So because all the data should be copied, right? No, I don't want to copy all the data. I don't want all the data. I want only users. Then you can copy. I want only profiles. So whatever you want to data, I want only authorization profiles. I want only customization data. I want only customization. So whatever you want, you can choose the data here. Whatever you want, you can choose that respective data, you can choose it. So then you can schedule as a background job, or you can run it here. If you run it here, what will happen? So it will run in the dialog mode. Dialog mode means the screen will be freezed here. The screen will be freezed here. Suppose you want to see, see here, what will happen if you run in the dialog mode, right? So see here, dialog mode I am executing now. See here what will happen now. like this only it will happen. See here. Till then, so we cannot work on the other screens. So it has to be complete. In the dialog mode, it has to be complete. So then only we can work it out. Why? Because otherwise, so it will not work. We cannot show screens, everything will not work here. So it should finish it in the dialog mode. That is the background mode means job will run. You can do your work. You can do the other work also. Job will perform your work. Background mode in the dialog mode. So you can perform the other activities also. Okay. So that is the concept of the so background job concept, and so there is no difference. I will start the immediately or schedule as a background job. So maybe we can schedule as a background job also. We can schedule it here. So that's not a problem. Anything we can use it here. Anything we can use it here. Okay. So that is the local client copy. Locally performing the data copy from one client to another client, right? So that is the main thing of the local client copy. Okay. So that is the one thing. So is it clear? Logs we can check in the SCC3. So transaction code SCCL. So this is the local client copy, right? So this is the one we can perform the local client copy. So is it clear, right? Local client copy.
Sir, I have one doubt, sir.
Yeah.
If suppose whatever we download, whatever we copied now from 100 to 400, if in 400, for example, in 400 there will be a test user 1 and 2. So we are copying from 100 to 400. By the time whatever the data is there in 400, that means test 1, test 2, it will automatically delete.
Must delete it will delete the existing data. Then it will copy the data from the 100 to 400. Whatever the data is there, you have the terabytes of data or petabytes of data. Everything will be deleted from the in your target client first. Then it will copy the data from 400 to 100 client or 100 to 400 client. So the main aim is existing data will be deleted first, then new data will be copied. So that is the reason when you are performing, so don't touch the 100 client. Why? Because 100 client we have the data is there. Users will log in. So that is the reason. So if you override something from other empty client to 100 client, suppose like example, 800 we don't have any data. Okay, zero data, no users, nothing is there. So suppose you are just copying from 800 to 100, 100 we have the data. By mistakenly you want to copy from 100 to 800, you wrongly chosen like 800 to 100. Then 100 is the target here. There is a data. So 800 there is no data. So your overwriting means first it will delete the data, whatever the users are there, 20 users, 30 users, 40 users, hundreds of users, all the data will be deleted first. Then here, whatever the data is there here, empty data, then only that empty data will be available here. Then once the client copy is done, whatever the data, already data is there, everything is gone. So don't touch 100 client. Remaining client, if you want to use it, however you want to use it, you can use it as part of the practice.
Even SAP Star user also it won't work now, sir, after
yeah.
copy.
SAP Star will work. Why? Because for the newly created client, so we have enabled the emergency user, right? Suppose example, 400 we logged in, right? Maybe 200, let's see. So once you change the parameter, so it will work. 200 is not available. Maybe 150.
Sir, can we change the password for a newly created client?
No, default password is the pass only. So we cannot change that one. That is the reason. Why? Because for the newly created client, there is no data. Just you created the client. But how can we log in and do the client copies or means? So that's the reason you are enabling the emergency user by changing the one parameter. So that is called the login slash in RJ10. You are going to the RJ10, then there you are going to change the one parameter, right? That is the reason. So that's why it's not possible to change the password of the pass. Pass is the by default password is for the pass, so we cannot change it here in the newly created client. because we don't have any data here, right? Suppose like we go to the SE01, check the users. So only 3 users are there, right? Only 3 users are there. So, but I want to data from 100 client to here. What you have to do? 150 is the practice client someone created. I want to users from which client to which client. So 100 we have the more data, then 100 client to 150. Then 150 you have already 3 clients are there, 3 users are there. Those 3 users will be deleted. Here you have the 25 users. Those 25 users will be copied to the here. Got it?
Even after copy, SAP star user also won't work for 400 clients, no, sir?
Yes, right. Yes, right.
Okay.
So that is the reason we have enabled the emergency user. Emergency user, we have enabled it. Emergency user, we have enabled. Why? Because then only the user with login slash, it will work. Login slash, so that password, it will work. Login, then only SAP star with pass will work. SAP star with pass will work. Got it? Any confusion?
Sir, is there any another way to log in newly created client apart from SAP Star and Pass?
No other way. Only SAP star is allowed. After creating the new client, so only SAP star with initially first time SAP star with pass only you have to log in. Otherwise, none of the users are not allowed to log in here. So to log in with this one also, we are changing the one parameter in the RJ10. That is called the, yesterday we discussed about the RJ10 login slash in the one parameter, no underscore, automatic underscore, user SAP star equals to 0. We have to change that parameter. We have to restart it. Then after that, you can log in with the any new client with the SAP star with the pass.
Okay.
One small doubt, sir, last. So after creating a client, so we can do it, no, whatever we can do it or not, that one, like whatever we have a transaction codes, no. If suppose if I created 500 client, no, in that I can what do you call, create the users and everything, no.
How can you create the users there? First of all, it's not possible initially. It's not possible actually. So first of all, you need to perform the client copy. Data you should be required. Only empty client you created. So maybe, okay, you have to manually create, right? You don't want to copy the data, you want to manually create it. Yeah, you can create it, not a problem. That's will be allow. Maybe we can go to the, suppose here, new client 150. So just go ahead and you can here create the company. Everything you have to manually give it here. You have to manually give. So then you have to give it. So data will not come again. So like this, everything you have to create it. So, but it's not the good approach. So SAP said like once the new client is created, first perform the data copy from. So data copy using the either the cust profile, either the select all or cust, either any one of the profile you have to use it. Then after that you can manually create it. So first is for the newly created client, local client copy is the must and should. Must and should you have to perform the local client copy.
Okay, sir.
Sir, the local client copy is done, sir. As per requirement, the local copy client, the client local is done. So all the users in the new client are visible now. So if the client, the user, business user asks to create one more user, can we?
Yeah, we can create it. In that case, we can create it, not a problem. We can create it. So business user. So now what it is saying like, so you have already 3 users are there, right? Suppose you copied some data, you have 3 users are there. Now the client asked you to create the one more user manually. So only 150 client, not in the other client. So that just click on the create button. You can create the data. So nothing, no one will stop you. You can create it, not a problem.
Sir, and mirroring of user also we can do, sir.
Mirroring of the, yeah, we can perform it. So suppose, so instead of you giving all those things, so first of all, so suppose what are the users are there here? Suppose CSR. I want to copy CSR responsibilities to the, so my Ravi responsibility, right? From to, then you can use it, then you can create it. Same will be copied here.
Okay, okay, got it.
Same, you can set the password. And then copy it. The company we have to assign it here. The small things we have to assign, and we have to create it. That's it. Yeah, it's possible to create it. New client, we can create it. New user, we can create it.
Sir, is this a real-time request? I mean, in
Yeah,
general,
client copies is sometimes real-time request. Sometimes we may get sometimes as part of the testing, or sometimes we may ask you to perform the client copy. So in that case, you need to perform the client copies here. That time you may have to get the requirement like, so which profile we have to use it, which profile we have to use it, either the, so user, local, all, which profile we have to use it. Then they will tell you which profile you have to use it. Based on that, so you have to perform the copy. Yeah, rare cases we may get the request to perform the client copies.
So if you wanna copy the data from 100 to any another client,